evening, magnificent morning, and awesome afternoon to anyone wherever you are watching this conversation right now. This is Carla from Rehan Allahwala's World of Connections. And I am here today to talk to Kimi Avary, who is a relationship navigation specialist. She has it written at the bottom of her name. And we are going to talk about what she's been doing in her life, her work, and her passions. And like always, this interview is sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which is an online organization promoting peace one conversation at a time. Kimi, can you please introduce yourself?
To Carla, thank you so much for having me here today. It is such a pleasure to be with you. I've been following you for quite a while. I am a relationship navigation specialist. I work with men and women to help them understand each other better so that they can have great relationships. Men and women are so different. We'd be better off if we actually spoke different languages, because then we wouldn't think we were communicating. I am all about love. I've studied love and relationships my entire life. And by the time I was 36 years old, I had gone to not one, but 2 weddings of men I was deeply in love with, and I'd watched them marry other women. I was their best buddy, but not the woman they wanted to marry. And I was really confused and really hurt. What was wrong with me, I wondered. What is going on that nobody wants to marry me? And then I started studying about the differences between men and women, and my world changed. It healed my relationship with my father. It made it possible for me to meet and marry my husband and stay married. And it made it possible for me to have the coaching practice that I have, which is helping men and women to understand each other better. But my secret goal is to help everybody connect to their inner spirit, to God, to Yahweh, Allah, like the highest in all of us. And I do that through helping people solve their day-to-day problems. And I have a master's in counseling and a bachelor's in family studies and human development. And I'm a master neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. I've been doing, which is how to use your brains better. I help my clients look at where they are, look at how their brain works, how they communicate with themselves and others, and how to communicate more effectively by changing patterns that are not working. For instance, women tend to use about 25,000 words a day on average. Men tend to use about 5,000 words a day on average. Women want to tell all the stories behind everything. Every detail is life and death to a woman. Not so much with men. They are bullet pointed. They want you to be clear, concise, coherent with what it is that's going on for you, what you need from them. And this is a problem because people don't know this. Women get upset because men say, so ask them, what is your point? So what are you telling me? Men get upset because she goes into all the details. And he looks at her and he's like, oh. So I help them to bridge this gap, to create partnerships that work for a lifetime of love.
Very nice. Now, I want to change your focus a tiny bit
Yes.
to the use of English and communication using this global language that we use around the world now. How can we use English, especially with people who don't speak English very well or they're just learning, to create a better system of communication?
I like to call it traveler. I speak traveler. And I say that because when I'm in a foreign country, and I've been many places in the world, I've been to India, I've been to Sri Lanka, Ceylon, I've lived in Mexico as a child, I've been to Brazil, I've been to Thailand, I've been a lot of places. And there are many people who want to learn English. And if you're a native English speaker, like I am, my tendency is to speak more quickly. And when you're speaking quickly, people cannot understand what you're trying to say. When you slow down and attend to each word that you are speaking and choose words that will make sense to the person you're speaking with. And you're learning English, let's say. You want to say something about the color blue. You want to be specific and you want to give it the fancy name of the blue color that you're talking about. That might not translate as effectively as saying blue. Choosing words that are easily translatable and understood. And if that word does not get across, you choose a different word. When I speak Spanish, my Spanish is not perfect by any means. I learned as a child and I've studied it over the years. I have an idea that I want to convey. So you have an idea that you want to convey to somebody. I try to use the words that I know. And often the person I'm speaking with will help me along because they think they know what I'm saying. So they'll offer me a word and I say, oh, yes, or no, that's not it. Part of learning a different language takes courage. It takes the willingness to practice and try to speak the language. If you are in an environment where people are encouraging you to speak the language, take advantage of that. And if somebody is critical of you trying to speak the language, perhaps that's not somebody you want to put attention into. You might want to focus on people who support you. For instance, Carla's English language program is all about supporting you in practicing your English skills. She does it in a non-judgmental way. When we're not being judged, we are more open to trying to say what we want to say. Use an app if you can't figure out the word. There are lots of translation apps now on your phone or on your computer. Play with it. Type in your language what you want to say. Practice speaking it in the English language. And every time you do that, you're enhancing your memory's ability to grab that word when you need it.
Now, listening is a very important skill.
Yeah.
And many people who come to my show in the beginning do not understand the importance of listening. I had someone who was coming back very often, and I ended up having the same conversation 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah.
And I realized this person wasn't listening at all. It was beginning to become a problem, not only for me, but those around, because I was saying the same thing constantly. The reason I bring it up is I just got a message from him, or a comment saying, Carla, you are not narrow-minded. You won't let me in. I explained to him that that's true. I'm not arguing with you, but it's because you haven't learned to listen. How can I help someone learn to stop being concerned about speaking as much as using their ears?
First of all, a client or a student who does not appear to be listening, my interpretation would be they're very nervous.
Yeah.
They're uncomfortable speaking. And I would say, first of all, take a pause, breathe, and then listen to learn. When I'm learning a language, I listen. When I learn a new name, I listen. I have somebody say it into my ear. So I get the small phonemes, the small pieces of a word. So if Carla was whispering in my ear her name and she said Carla, and I would go, Carla. And I would practice not using my eyes, but using my ears. English is particularly difficult because it is not based on the letters do not always translate to what the word will sound like. For instance, Spanish, I can read Spanish no problem. I may not have any idea of what I'm saying, but I will sound fluent because it's phonetic. It's based on accurate representation with their letters and the sounds. English is not like that. I have a lot of empathy for and sympathy for somebody who is trying to learn English for the first time. So you must do two things. Listen, close your eyes and listen to the word, what it sounds like. And then pause and say it out loud. Let your teacher correct you. And then listen again if you didn't get it. And you keep doing that till you get the sound of the word. When you look at images of words, the word written down, it's important to hear it and connect the image of that word with the sound. And in neurolinguistic programming, we identify visual learners, auditory, and kinesthetic. We all have all three of those. So visual means we're making a picture up above. Audio means we're hearing a sound. And you can hear that, you can tell somebody's listening because they'll put their ear toward you. Our bodies will do the language or the representation of our style. And then feeling is important. So visual, audio, and kinesthetic, you're feeling. You can know when you're saying something correctly and know when you are saying something wrong, because when you get it auditorily and you can see a picture, you'll have a physical feeling about a yes or a no. Oh, that's not quite right. And you want to train yourself to use your whole body to learn the language. When I'm watching Carla speak, I'll look at her lips to see how the words are made. I'll listen for how she is enunciating the words. And then I practice, and I'm looking for the feeling that connection maybe with my teacher, or connection with another person, that they're understanding something, that I'm saying it correctly. And truthfully, I have become less focused on the accuracy of the sentence structure, although I love it when the sentence is structured accurately. I'm more focused on the fact that somebody is communicating with me an idea, a dream, what they're passionate about, even if the words are not perfect.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. And these are things that I do constantly when I am teaching or working with someone and coaching them. Now, you did bring up that men and women think much differently. It's very clear. You may be talking to a man and you want to say blah, 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 and they just want to hear blah, blah and get it and be finished with it. How do we unite the communication so it becomes clear for everyone, especially when you're coming from two different points of language? Maybe the man speaks Spanish and the woman speaks English, and yet the man does know some English. How do you connect those two?
I believe the communication is it takes an intention. It is not something that can be taken for granted. And that goes with any communication, even if you speak the same language.
Right.
If you don't speak the same language, for instance, I was on a boat in Greece. I was by myself, and there was a very big storm, and the ship was like this, and it was a long journey, and it was a smaller ship, so it was more up and down. And there was a group of Greek women who spoke no English, and I spoke no Greek. And we communicated for something like 12 hours, drawing pictures, gesturing. We told each other our life stories because we wanted to communicate. We intended to communicate. We did have to rest between periods of time when we were communicating, because it's a lot of work to do that sometimes, to think about how can I get my message across. However, it can be incredibly rewarding when you slow things down and take the time to intentionally communicate with somebody. That means listening, again, back to listening. a key part of communication is getting out of your own head and actually listening to the person who's speaking with you. If you're anxious, you might say, okay, I'm anxious, just a minute. Okay, what is it you were saying? And then you can hear what they're saying. Now, with a man and a woman, whether they speak the same language or not, I would say the same thing. Slow down. For a woman, know that he does not need all the details. For a man, know that she needs more details. I like to think of the hunters and the gatherers, ancient man and woman. The gatherers go out into a meadow and they search for beautiful things and usable things and edible things. And they talk and talk and talk and talk and talk to scare the critters that might eat them or their children. Women are hardwired to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Men, typically, they go on a hunt. When they go on a hunt, think of a spear, a weapon to kill the deer. It's single focus. It's got a point on it. They don't care what they kill to bring home for dinner. As long as they bring home dinner, the details don't matter. But if a woman's out and she finds a mushroom, is it edible? Is it not? A berry, is it edible or is it poisonous? The fine details are life and death for a woman. So when she's giving you all the details, she's doing it because she cares about you. She's doing it to save you. You may not want to be saved, but that's part of giving you the information. It's life and death for her. For him, you can kill a sheep, or you can kill a pig, or a cow, and you come home with dinner. And it doesn't matter unless of course, your religious faith might not make you want to eat a pig or a cow or whatever.
I get what you're saying.
Yes.
And I want to go into it a little deeper, because a man will go out and kill anything and say, here's dinner. And the woman looks at it, you really didn't bring that home to me to cook. And he's like, yeah, this is dinner tonight. I don't think so. In order to keep this from becoming a major issue, how can the communication be made so it doesn't become a big fight and it easily goes into where we want it to be?
That's a really good question. So I want to back up a teeny bit. I say men, masculine, women, feminine. We all have masculine and feminine within each and every person, whether you're a man or a woman. The masculine is the provider, protector, producer energy. You produce dinner, a deer or something. The feminine is the supporter, adapter, enhancer. She beautifies the home. She nurtures the people around her. She adapts to the situation. And she supports the people around her. And there can be men who are supportive, and there can be women who are providers. Every culture is different. Every relationship will be different. There's not a right or wrong, but the question that you asked is so important. Women often are not clear about what we need until we are upset without it. Then we become angry and frustrated or critical. Men are direct and clear. And when they bring home a deer, the details didn't matter, but they mattered to her. So next time, ideally not in the moment, but it often happens in the moment, you say, honey, thank you, or sweetheart, or lover of mine, or precious one, whatever name you call your sweetheart, your partner. There's something that I need that I don't think you know about. I really need this kind of meat for this meal I'm cooking tonight. Is there anything you need from me to make that happen? She needs to tell him before he's on the hunt that it's important to her. And if he says, I wish I could get you that, I will try to get you that, but I can't commit to that because I don't know what animals I'm going to find on my hunt. Great. They've communicated. He knows it's important to her. And she knows that he's not certain if he can get it because he said, I'll try. If he can do it and he knows he can do it, he will commit. He will say, I can do that. It takes, again, slowing down. Women need to get clear about what they need before they start talking to the man, if possible. Not always possible. But let's say you're upset and you're frustrated about something. What is underneath that frustration? Ask yourself, what do I really need? Do I need attention? Do I need this? Does it really matter if he brings home this meat or that meat? If it doesn't matter, ask yourself why you're upset. If you can let it go, let it go. If you need something specific, can let him know what that is. We often we often forget to pause and ask our partner, is this a good time to let you know what I need? When you go to the grocery store, is this a good time to talk with you about this? This is called the respect factor. Asking, and if the person you're trying to talk to says, I can talk in an hour, wait for that hour. That is one of the hardest things for women to do, because we feel something and we want to talk about it right now. And that doesn't always go over very well with the men in our lives. And guys, gentlemen, if a woman you're speaking with is really upset and she's important to you, you might say to her, honey, let's sit down for a moment and figure out what you need underneath that. I see that you're upset. I care about you and I want to do the right thing, but I don't know what it is. Because women are sometimes not clear until they're really upset. And when they're really upset and angry, all the man hears is the upset. He actually doesn't hear what she needs and what's important to her.
So how, and I know that happens a lot, how can we change that so it's a more smooth ride or path for the two?
I think it's, for women, it's a lot about a personal growth exploration. What do I truly need? What is important to me? Remember, I said that women were adaptable. We'll go this way and that way, and we like this and we like that. And part of that is our nature, because if we were so solid about needing something in particular or not adaptable, and the other person we were with was not adaptable, then you might go different directions. So we are flexible, but that also means that our messages are not clear very often. Every single coaching session I have with a woman, I work with her on getting clear about what's important to her and learning how to let her partner know what that is. I think I lost track of your question. Did that answer your question?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay, ask it again. Let me get the other side of it.
It was that. How do you melt the two so they go in the same recipe and the recipe tastes good, instead of the woman being upset because she got to that point of upset in order to get to where she needed to be. And the man is like, oy vey, I have no idea what she's saying. She's been talking too much.
So it takes two people to have these conversations intentionally. She needs to slow down and get clear. Let's say she's not clear though, and he loves her. He needs to say, I think there's something that you need that I'm not clear about. Would you help me to figure out what it is you need from me? It takes a generosity of heart and compassion for yourself and for your partner to listen, to learn from them about what it is that they really need, what's important to them. And it takes courage, because sometimes an angry woman can be a little scary because we furrow our brows and we're like, why'd you do that? Instead of saying, oh, honey, there's something that I need that I don't think you know about. And what would make me super happy is if we could find a restaurant that serves sushi tonight. I'm really craving sushi. Would that be okay with you? Instead of, oh, you always pick the Italian restaurants. I hate Italian food. You know I hate Italian food. Why do you make me eat that? You have to choose to intentionally communicate. And that goes for both people. And the bridge is not easy because women tend to look at men as hairier, misbehaving women who are not doing what we would do and we're upset, or doing things we would never do and we're upset. So men have a hard time winning with us. And men tend to look at women as smaller, emotionally indulgent versions of themselves who can't get to the point to save their lives. So we're all looking at each other as a version of ourselves. In fact, we look at everybody that we encounter as some version of ourselves, who are either doing things we wouldn't do or not doing things we would do, because we all suffer from CEOs, which is stuck in your own head syndrome. CEOs, we all suffer from that. So the antidote, the medicine for this, is to be curious about what's going on for the other person instead of furious or angry.
I like that. But helping the other person understand that is not always easy.
Men respond to women a lot. They're very visual. They see a happy, open-hearted woman or an angry woman. The open, happy person, they'll go say hello to. The angry woman, they'll go the other way. When we learn how to manage our emotions and choose peace and love over anger and frustration, and we can navigate things more easily, then we are more available for true connection with people. When to me, relationships are opportunities for development of yourself. Clarity is an opportunity. Learning how to speak so the other person can listen, whether you're speaking a different language or you're in a relationship, learning how to speak in a language that they can understand. If you're telling lots of stories and your partner needs bullet points, or your boss needs a bullet pointed list, you can choose to create that list. But you have to know that these differences are here in order to even want to create that list. To choose to be intentional about communication. I want my partner to understand me. How can I bullet point what's important to me? How can I let him know in a few sentences, 2 or 3, that what I need is important, that how it looks, what it is, without giving him all the details. But again, it's about being intentional about communication. If you're speaking to somebody who does not speak your language and you're practicing English, you'll use fewer words. So that actually might be a good thing at first.
It may be
Because,
a way to start that conversation.
yeah.
Interesting. Kimi, we've been talking for a while, and I would like to know, how would you like to sum up this conversation for those who may be watching and listening?
I would sum it up by saying every single person you encounter is going to think differently. They will have different motivations and different intentions. If you want to communicate and you don't speak English right as fluently as you would like, or you want to communicate with your partner, be patient and say, I'd like to talk to you about something. When would be a good time? Make sure the person that you're going to be speaking with is not rushing off to something. They can be present with you. I remember being in France years ago, and many Americans think that French people can be kind of rude. That was not my experience at all. Many French people think that Americans can be kind of rude.
Yeah.
Again, that was not my experience at all. I would walk into a shop. I would wait until the person who was working at the shop had time for me. And then they would come over and speak with me. And in my very, very broken French, very teeny tiny French language abilities, I would explain what I needed, and they would gratefully help me. But it was because I was patient. When a woman's trying to talk to a man, we sometimes feel like we need to talk right now. It's a big problem.
It is.
So if we can say, hey, I'm sorry to interrupt. There's something I need to talk to you about. Don't worry, you're not in trouble. When would be a good time? And he might say, right now is great. And he might say, give me 10 minutes. Or, oh, today is going to be rough. How about at 5 p.m. tonight? Then when you are talking with that person, they can be present with you instead of rushing off to something. When somebody rushes off to something, you might feel ignored or not valued or not important. And that might not be true at all. It might just be that that person didn't have a moment at that time to talk. So be patient. Remember that everybody is different. Everybody is stuck in their own heads or CEOs. Everybody suffers from CEOs, stuck in your own head syndrome. CEOs, we all suffer from that. Remember that. And then be curious about the other person. That's why I do relationship navigation, because there's no one way it can be. Every relationship is different. When I work in the corporate world, there's a different dynamic than when I work with people on their personal relationships or parenting relationships. Every situation is different, and I help people to navigate their relationship experience so that they can spend more time in connection with God or the thing, or Yahweh or Allah. Like, when I'm not cranky and angry, I can spend time feeling spiritual. When I'm cranky and angry, it's hard to remember God. It's hard to remember love. It's hard to remember peace. Spend time there, and then you change the dynamic of your relationships. Even if you can't speak the same words or exactly the way you want it, if your intention and your heart say love and respect and kindness and generosity, the people that you are speaking with will begin to feel that. And that is a communication too.
And that communication may be more important than any other.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for talking to me and those who watch. This has been an enlightening conversation, and it will be continued next Monday, February 7th, on the third annual English Literacy Conference, where we're going to talk about communication and the importance of communication. Kimi, thank you so very much. I want to remind everyone that this show is sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which promotes peace one conversation at a time. And Kimi, can we wave goodbye?
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
I'm going to say thank you. Thank you, Carla.
You are very much welcome. Bye, everyone.